Hello, students. It is indeed a pleasureful event for me to reach you all through video casting, which is otherwise called as vote casting. Well, students, this is a very innovative method of teaching that most of the faculty members in the foreign universities resort to. Well, I just thought of giving a try to this new model in helping you understand the fifth unit. Alright, students, in today's vote casting, we would try to catch up with the Unit 5 in the knowledge management systems. Well, the very unit centers on how the knowledge based firm actually emerges. The whole unit would be covered having the following points as the agenda. Well, first, we would try to understand the very firm's definition. That would be a very conventional one. Then, we would try to understand firm in the context of information era. How may we redefine the firm? There would be ample number of parameters involved. We would learn that. After having done that, we would move towards understanding how smarter organizations actually evolve and what constitutes a smarter organization. We would learn that. Then there are a lot of trends that have been followed in the rewarding system. One is called as smarter incentives. We would try to understand the various bases on which smarter incentives can be rewarded to the employees. Then further, we would go forward and then understand the knowledge based growth of a firm. Actually, this does involve a model. We would also understand the model associated with it. Then, there is one important question I often ask myself. Will one be able to make money out of knowledge? Well, this question is rightly being answered. We're going to cover that up. Then we would also understand how the knowledgeable employees in an organization could be rewarded. This would be dealt under the rewards for knowledge. The last topic for today's session would be on the trends and implications in workers' participation. That is a very interesting one. Alright, let's not waste any further time. Let's get on to the very topic. Okay, how may we define first the very term firm? Firm could be understood as a consortium of people who work together in order to establish a predefined objectives, more specifically organizational objectives. Well, take a look at the picture. Probably I understand this picture could have been taken almost 5 to 6 centuries back. The space is very much, let's say, huge in size, and you can find a lot of equipments, and people are well dressed, people are very formal, and then they're doing their own tasks. Alright, but on the contrary, nowadays firms are quite evolving in nature. They move towards becoming smarter, leaner in their operations. In that context, how may we redefine the firms in the information era? With the advent of IT everywhere, how may we redefine a firm? Well, we could redefine a firm based on its size. Nowadays, it is not how big your organization is that actually matters. Rather than that, how or what kind of service you actually provide, that matters. Therefore, nowadays, firms need not have a huge size or operating area. The more the huge the places, you might have furniture, you might have equipments and all the gadgets. That's going to actually add up to the cost of setting up your firm. Therefore, firms must be optimal in size. Then comes the physical location. There were days wherein all the entrepreneurs would want to start up their companies on a prime location inside the city. But nowadays, that's not the trend. If you have the IT devices, if you have proper internet connectivity, the location actually doesn't matter. Therefore, if there is a smarter firm, the location does not actually matter. Then a firm has to operate with the least number of equipments needed. Okay, the fax, the photocopying machine, the computers, unnecessarily more number of computers, the huge furnitures, the couches and stuff like that. These are going to actually add up to your operation expenses. Therefore, you would not be able to have more profitability. Therefore, a firm which is upcoming or which is evolving should have least equipment, the very minimally needed equipments. Then there is one aspect that's called as telecommuting. Nowadays, there are more people in the US and the UK who actually prefer to work from home. They would take up the work, they would sit at the home, and then at their homes, and then they would be able to perform the kind of jobs being allocated to them. So this aspect is called as telecommuting. So we could identify a firm in the new era, okay, by understanding whether it offers telecommuting feature to the employees. Well, telecommuting does have a lot of advantage. Just think about the time, the kind of traffic, the fuel consumption, the kind of stress involved, going from the home place and then reaching the office and hitting the floor, working there up to, let's say, 8 hours, then come back home. So all this could be avoided once we opt for telecommuting. Then the last component or a parameter in redefining a firm would be externalization. That means shedding the unwanted things. Okay, it is not okay how many processes a company knows that actually matters. It is actually how a firm or a company excels in one chosen process that matters a lot. When we say externalization, that means all the non-core functions of an organization could be outsourced to a service provider, and the energy and resources can be focused internally. Well, the last parameter to understand an upcoming or an evolving firm would be the feature of externalization. Alright, students, let's move forward. Fine, let's now understand what is called a smarter organization. Alright, the very sentence it goes quite clearly. Okay, it says that smart people would not just adapt to the situation, rather they just learn from the situation. They just imbibe certain values onto them, so that the next time when they encounter such scenarios, they are very prudent, they are very agile. In a similar manner, smart organizations will not simply change in accordance with the fluctuations in the economy or in the market. Rather, they learn continually. This would be an unstopping process, or rather a perpetuating one. Then, a smart organization will actively manage every key process to ensure continuous improvement. For example, imagine a teacher who obviously comes and meets you guys and then simply, let's say, resorts to chalk and board. Probably this may be effective, this might not be effective. I'm very optimistic in saying this might not be effective with a varied and versatile audiences. But imagine a teacher who uses a mixture or a fusion of methods in reaching you all out. Therefore, in all probable cases, you would better be able to grasp the points because he uses a variety of things. So in a similar manner, if there is a firm that wants to be a smarter one, every key process inside their production activities should be clearly managed. And then last, a smarter organization shows sustaining corporate success through unlearning business as usual. That means they would not just end up doing business as normal. They would not just say, okay, everybody else is doing the same thing the same way. Why do I need to spend a lot of energy on doing something which is totally different? They would not ask such a limiting questions or such a backward pulling questions. Rather, they focus on learning new things and doing business in a more innovative way with which they can meet the expectations of their customers, not only meeting them but also exceed the expectations of the clients. So in this way, they stay smarter, they grow smarter. Alright? Alright, so next let us try to understand some basis or the premises on which one can be provided with the smart incentives. Well, we had covered in depth about the benefits that the employees of a firm or an organization will be provided with. One of the perks would be a smart incentives. Okay, a smart incentive would be an additional component that is being rewarded to an employee other than the salary part that we clearly know. Fine. So based on what will I be able to freeze that one guy deserves smart incentives? First one would be creativity. Does this guy actually try in solving the problem in a creative manner? That's one good area or one good ground. Then the employee should have the risk-taking behavior. If there is a project and the employee or the project manager is not very sure whether the project would be okay or not, he or she should be able to take risks. Then obviously one should have a medium-term focus, neither too short nor too long. Then an employee has to be collaborative in nature. He has to get along well with the members of the other members of the organization. They should also be cooperative. Then An employee who actually deserves smart incentive must be having concern for quality and continuous improvement. I believe I had spoken enough about how Toyota focus on quality and continuous improvement. Then, an employee who qualifies himself or herself for smart incentive should have equal concern for the process and also the outcome. Okay, he or she must not be focusing more on process by compromising on the outcome. Okay, it is not how you do, that doesn't actually matter, or that is not only mattering. What also matters is what you do. It is not how you do, but also what you do, how much you do. All this matter a lot. So an employee qualifying for smart incentives should be focusing on process and outcomes as well. Then an employee who is smart and who deserves smart incentive should have high tolerance of ambiguity and unpredictability. What do I mean by that? When some project actually starts, okay, there can be unclear specifications from the client, or you might not be able to predict the market conditions or the governmental norms for pursuing your project. In such scenarios, actually a smart employee would have a lot of, let's say, tolerance. He would know that, okay, or she would know that, okay, this is all in the business, let's now start the project. Let's not just wait, so that everything actually, let's say boils down to one melting point. He or she would not be just wasting the time. He or she would have a lot of tolerance towards ambiguity and unpredictability. Then encouragement for learning and environmental scanning. In other words, or in simple terms, an employee who actually deserves smart incentive would be agile in nature, will have so much of adeptness or resourcefulness in him or in her. So based on these premises, an employee in any firm could be qualified for a smart incentive. Let's now move on. The very title starts like thinking big and acting small. Okay, so in this heading we are going to cover two aspects. One would be to try to understand what knowledge based growth is all about. Then, is there any model associated with it? Yeah, there is a model. We would also cover that model up next. Fine. Knowledge based growth of an organization could actually happen on a couple of ways. One, the firm or the company employees can focus internally. They can either increase the knowledge that has been retained over the years. They can work internally, they can focus more on what they already know, and then they can slowly improvise. That is there. Then besides this, they could also increase the knowledge level at their organization by increasing the strength of the linkages between the firm. Okay, there can be sister concerns, there can be, let's say, partnership firms. They could collaborate with them, and then they could try to know the know-how. That means the technological knowledge can be shared. This is one way. Then they could also do networking very extensively. Okay, take Facebook or LinkedIn, wherein it is also being used professionally. There are people who use it and simply, let's say, while away the time, but there are professional bodies who use Facebook. In the US, almost all companies will have an account with Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and stuff like that. Okay, good. So it's, let's say, simply putting across, merging with or acquiring, okay, knowledge can happen either internally or externally. So this would actually lead to knowledge based growth. Fine, I was talking about the model associated with the knowledge based growth of a firm. Fine, so what is that model all about? Okay, as being displayed in the visual, you can find there are 5 stages involved in this model. The first one is called as knowledge recognition. Okay, a firm or a company has to recognize the key processes. They got to capture the knowledge. They got to, let's say, document it properly and stuff like that. Imagine, okay, the very sizzling solution developed by Mr. Sabir Bhatia, who was actually the guy who had developed the Hotmail. Okay, so let's imagine Microsoft had actually recognized the very knowledge in the Hotmail solution. That was the reason why Mr. Sabir Bhatia was paid closely to $400 million when Microsoft actually, let's say, patented the Hotmail in their name. So actually, Hotmail is now one of the brands of Microsoft. So the point is very simple. You got to recognize the knowledge at the earliest and try to make sure that, okay, you are on the apex level. You are at the dominating level. That means you are able to capture the knowledge wherever it is available, document it properly, so that you would actually grow in knowledge. Second point is knowledge organization. Okay, the first point, I have known what the knowledge is all about, the key processes. I have documented everything in my, let's say, firm. Now, how do I organize the knowledge captured? That matters a lot. Where do I store it? Do I store online? Do I store in the magnetic disks, or do I store in the mobile hard drives, or portable disks? And then how do I access it? Do I use any ontology in retrieving, in archiving the data? That matters. Then comes distribution of knowledge across a slew or an array of branches. That matters. At times, whatever knowledge you have captured, you have codified already, would require some kind of updation. So, in the second stage, you would also be focusing on updating or appending the knowledge. Okay, that is also there. So, stage 2, it is knowledge organization. Well, stage 3, it focuses on knowledge networking. Actually speaking, a company that has got a branch across the nation, okay, could actually work together so that the different heads of the departments can have quick chat with each other. They can share the knowledge. If there is some drawback, or if there needs to be some kind of orientation given, everything would happen. So we can have a diverse team meetings. Example, the sales head would talk to the production head. If there is some kind of feedback that the sales head has received from the clients, he could forward that to the production manager. So these two guys actually are diverse teams, but they can have meetings together. This would actually increase the knowledge level. Then digestive and troubleshooting sessions. Alright, we can also simulate some anticipated problems, especially when we are introducing a new product in the market. So this is called as a digestive and troubleshooting discussion. So by doing all this, what do we actually do? We actually network with other guys with an intention of increasing the knowledge. That is there. And actually guys, I think I made a numerical mistake there. It must have been 4. The fourth stage in the knowledge growth model of any firm would be knowledge enhancement. Alright, I have recognized, I have organized, I have networked. Now what's the point? What's it all about? We got to enhance the knowledge level in an organization. How do we do it? Yep, we could go for a workshop. It can be in-house workshop, or in-shop workshop, or maybe in-facility workshop, or in-factory workshop or training program. So by catching up frequently with such training sessions, the knowledge level in a firm is expected to grow up very well. Well, let's say there is a new trend coming up. Okay, let's say Jax. No, it is also good that the guys are also being taught how to work with Ajax on, let's say, .NET platform. If this is the case, the .NET programmer, let's say ASP.NET programmer, would be keeping abreast with the latest technology. Okay, that's the idea basically. Fine. So there are 4 stages. One would be knowledge recognition, knowledge organization, knowledge networking, and the last would be knowledge enhancement. Okay, that would help us to model our firm towards knowledge growth. All right, let's move on. I was asking a question in my introductory session. Okay, I was just giving introduction, right? The question was, will one be able to make money out of knowledge? In my personal life, I would very much endorse this statement. Yep, one could make money out of knowledge. Money in a sense, legally and lawfully. Okay, how will a firm, this is not an individual's case, but it's a firm's case, how will a firm be able to make money out of knowledge? That's a question. Okay, the first point would be diversifying into derivative products. Imagine ArcelorMittal, okay, that the company which is the largest steel producer in the world is getting into making TMT bars. Actually, TMT bar is a derivative product of steel, right? The steel would be the core raw material for the TMT bars. What if ArcelorMittal also focuses on that? In this way, they can capitalize the existing knowledge on steel making that could be converted onto, let's say, a derivative product. Imagine Ultratech Cements getting into, let's say, concrete business like Ramco Concrete, or like any other concrete. So besides producing cement bags, they can also provide concretes to the apartments construction or the facilities construction. In this way, they can also earn more. The best case now is the ITC example, which was typically a cigarette making company that has gone into hotels, that they have gone into confectionery also. I believe many of you would have, let's say, tasted the Milky Magic, wherein Mr. Surya happens to be the brand ambassador for that biscuit. It is coming from the house of ITC actually. Fine. Say they are already into confectionery. What if ITC is also producing the sunflower oil? Okay, biscuits, sweets, confectionery into consumable domain. So is the case with your let's say the sunflower oil or any kind of edible oil manufacturing. So they can use existing knowledge to offer something called as a derivative product. In this way, a firm will surely be able to capitalize the existing knowledge and also to make additional knowledge. All right. Good. So, fine. I have grown in my knowledge level. Now my organization or a company is really good in knowledge level. But it is not actually organization that works, right? Indeed, it is the people in the organization who work more. This we know, right? In fact, there was a audiovisual demonstrated to you. Good. I now find a lot of people in my organization are knowledgeable. I want to reward them. So, how do I reward them? That's what we are going to cover now. The rewards for knowledge. Fine. There are four ways by which I would be able to reward highly respected employees in my organization who are really contributing well. The first one would be ESOP. I'm sorry, you might have heard me wrongly. It's not the soap or the ESOP, it's ESOP, okay? By ESOP, I mean employee stock ownership plans. Some people also call this as employee stock option plan. In either way, it connotes the same meaning. Alright, what does this mean? Actually, the shares of the company could be provided to an employee or could be, let's say, allocated to an employee. As the company grows, the share value of the company also grows up. The employee will also get more dividend. That's a basic idea. So by ESOP, we mean employees owning a chunk of shares actually floated in the name of the company. So by owning the company shares, the company's performance gets directly aligned to employees' productivity. The more the performance of the employees, the more would be the share price in the market. The worst would be the performance. In a similar manner, the share price of the company also comes down. So this is one good way by which I can always motivate my employees to perform more. The second is called as worker cooperatives. Actually speaking, okay, workers cooperatives are still a pragmatic one, meaning that whenever there is a problem in the industry, okay, performance problem or finance problem, what happens is the key workers, they contribute onto the organization. They become members of the top level management. In other words, they also become one of the owners of the organization. So it becomes a workers cooperative, and then the decision can be made collectively. They can discuss with one among themselves, and that's how it goes on. Let's say if an employee is really contributing, is highly productive, what would I do? I would be able to, let's say, consider this guy as one of the owners. I would also be able to give him a sizable amount of share to him. The last reward for knowledge would be management. Well, there was a power problem. Let's move on further. Okay, so the last one would be the management buyouts. What does it mean? When the firm buys a company, for example, Vidicon is into oil exploration, they are buying a call center. If this is the case, Vidicon top level executives would not be having a comprehensive knowledge in managing a call center. In this case, the management makes a buyout. The knowledgeable employees of the bought out company, the call center company, can be given leadership roles to play along with the top executives of Videocon. This is typically an example of a reward that can be given to the guys who are highly contributing to the growth of the company. Okay, so four rewards: employee stock ownership plan, worker cooperatives, co-determination, and management buyouts. Well, I think I did miss to cover up the co-determination. Co-determination is a kind of situation wherein the knowledgeable workers would be given very importance when it comes to making collective decisions. Okay, they can co-determine the future objectives of the company, the course of actions, or the kind of investment plan. So this can be a form of reward to the employees also. All right. Okay, so what are the trends and implications that are currently understood or currently sensed when it comes to workers' participation? I have told you that there are four ways wherein workers or employees can take participation in the management of the company. But this does have its own implication. Okay, whenever there is a cross-industry merger, at the time this is very important. There are a lot of, let's say, workers' participation taking place. That is there, and then whenever smarter organizations evolve, there it is not only the CEO or the promoter of the company. Rather than that, one who has been very earnestly working over the years would be, let's say, playing a very vital role in the day-to-day operations and the strategic plans of the organization. So this is a growing trend. But we do have one implication, because this is something which is not that clearly followed in the public sector or public sector undertakings. Imagine a situation when I really want people to stay back for a longer duration. At the same time, I want to make them perform well. Take the police department or army, wherein a person can just join as a constable or a soldier. Over the years, he would not have any kind of interest in moving up the career ladder. He or she would be sticking only to the same constable designation or the rank. If it is going to be army, he or she will only just be a soldier. So at times it is a problem. We got to balance the employees' tenure with the organization. At the same time, the growth level of the employees themselves, when they work with me over the years. So that is an implication which not many public sector undertakings are able to resolve very efficiently. All right, good. Well, students, in today's wordcasting, we have started to understand the redefining parameters of a firm from that of the conventional one that we have discussed, and then we have understood what is meant by a smart organization, and we also understood the various premises on which an employee who is highly contributing could be provided with smart incentives. Then we have learned, let's say, to think big and act small. By saying that, I refer to the knowledge-based growth of an organization. We have learned that there are two ways. One, the company can focus internally, they can capitalize on the knowledge level existing currently. And the other way would be to, let's say, do the networking and then form alliances or strengthen the links. We have learned that, and then we have also learned the four stages in a model with which the company could grow knowledge-wise. That we have learned. After having learned that, we have learned how the employees could be rewarded if they are highly contributing. That point we have learned, and then we have also learned how a firm could make money out of knowledge. That's typically by going for derivative products. That we have learned. Then we did have a kind of understanding on the upcoming trends and implications in workers' participation. Alright, students, I really appreciate the time you had spent with this broadcasting, and I'm very glad that I was able to have a very good, fruitful semester with you all. I wish you the very best. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Bye bye.